But this time, Rudy Giuliani confidential, so we're going to get a little tougher here, and we're going to blast this political hack. And I'm going to tell you, somebody's got to take apart the New York court system, really lay out for you what the heck it is, because this is a disservice to the people of New York. It is not a court system. It's a creature. The New York City court system might as well be a subdivision of the crooked New York Democratic Party. I prefer to call it machine because it isn't a party. Nobody runs against them. I told you, I went into the ballot box just a while ago at 4:30, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 entries for people running. The first 5 were judges like Engelmoron. And I believe I have this right. It could be 3 and 2 or 2 and 3. The first 2 or 3 on the ballot were the state Supreme Court. I don't remember their names. I didn't pay attention. I looked over to see if there was somebody I could vote for. I'm not going to vote for a Democrat. I don't vote for the party of slavery. And there's nobody. You can go right across the ballot. Nothing. It's all empty. I could write somebody in, I guess. I could write, Judge Cardozo in or something. But there's no candidate. He can't lose. The 3 can't lose. So how do they get their job? They got their job because the Democrat county leader with his little committee, all of whom are officially political hags, picked them. And they didn't pick them because of their brilliant scholarship. They picked them because they can control them when they need to. They're not going to take a risk of putting somebody on there that's going to screw up one of their little deals or going to screw them up on politics. And then the next 2 down were the civil court. They were also unopposed. We didn't have even one Republican choice for judge. So we don't select. So when they tell you in New York, we elect the judges, we do not. We elect the judges the way they elect people in a communist country. They win 100% to nothing. That's even better than Putin, who only got 97% of the vote. So that's why I'm saying this is a dictator. New York City is a dictatorship. It is not a democracy. Now, right down at the bottom, there was a contest for city council between a Republican and a Democrat, and the poor Republican would be lucky to get 20% of the vote. Lucky. And that's a function of the brainwashed New Yorkers who I am getting extremely impatient with. I mean, I love this city. There may be people that love this city as much as I do. Nobody loves it more. And there may be people who have done as much for this city as I have, but nobody's done much more than I've done. It breaks my heart to see the condition of it now. It breaks my heart to see it going back to the boss-dominated, one-party, corrupt, falling apart city that I thought I had changed for good, particularly after 12 years of Mike Bloomberg, which I consider integral to our institutionalizing it. A lot of people say, oh, you really changed it. He didn't. That's true, I did. But he really maintained it and expanded it. And he didn't have to. I mean, he could have, if he were a Democrat, we'd have gone back to being corrupt right away. Right away, in an instant, we've gone back to being corrupt. I knew that. I knew the 2 people on the ballot. I mean, both of them would have taken it right back to the machine. And when the head isn't corrupt, he just doesn't do anything like Koch. Koch wasn't corrupt, but his administration was one of the most corrupt in history, particularly in his second 2 terms when he lost interest in being mayor. Sometime I'll tell you his history. And my big dispute with him when we broke is I would not reappoint 3 of the judges he wanted me to reappoint because they were involved with Donald Maness, who was the county leader of Queens, who I had under investigation. I convicted everybody else in the trial. I didn't convict him because he committed suicide. He was taking hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, well, millions from the Parking Violations Bureau. And the allegations were that he was getting $100,000 a judge. Yeah, Supreme Court judge. There he is, the robes on. Had to come up with $100,000 for good old Fat Donald, who committed suicide rather than go to trial. A tragedy that he committed suicide because he could have given away all the Democrats in the city. A lot of people feel he was encouraged to commit suicide because his lawyer had a hard time getting to him. And at the time, I was negotiating with his lawyer to see if we could get him to cooperate. I don't know that we would have, but his father had committed suicide. He was a very fragile man, ultimately. He's a big bully, but he was a fragile man. And I did everything I could to sort of ease things up on him because I wanted him to live because he could talk. And boy, could he have given away a lot of these people who, some of whom are still around. But that's what we're talking about when we talk about the New York judiciary. When we talk about the Bar Association that has completely trampled my constitutional rights, for whom I have no respect at all. I haven't had respect for the Bar Association for 20 years. I mean, they don't find brilliant conservative jurists, they don't find them qualified. I mean, they are a complete reflection of the absurdity of the cocktail New York, Washington circuit, cocktail party, New York, Washington circuit. You know, they don't seem to be bothered by babies being killed in the womb, and they probably they find any conservative to be intellectually inferior, and they're the ones who are intellectually inferior, and they don't pay attention to anything really. Like, for example, if we had a real bar association, this whole thing with Trump and people that work with Trump can't get lawyers would be a big scandal. Of course, they should be able to get lawyers. First of all, they're innocent. But okay, even if they were guilty, if they were terrorists and they couldn't get lawyers, the Bar Association would go crazy. But they're Trump people, and they're worse than terrorists. And I got suspended because of the hysteria over September 7th. Now, I had nothing to do with September 7th. I was doing other things. It wasn't in my purview of things that I was doing. The one comment that I made at the speech that they used against me was taken totally out of context, completely dishonestly. It was trial by combat. Before it, I explained I was talking about having a test of the two machines, one against the other. And then right after I finished trial by combat, I said, then we'll see which machine works better. You had to take out everything above it and everything below it in order to do that distortion. Well, I was very, very fortunate. I was sued by the Crooked House Committee, and a federal judge in Washington appointed by President Obama dismissed me from the case, saying there was, and he was very critical of other things that I did, which because they believed that every time I talked about the election being stolen or crooked, I was making it up. I wasn't. I was getting evidence from people. A lot of it's come out now, but nobody pays attention to it. But in any event, the judge said he's not guilty of this. He had nothing to do with the violence at all. He didn't know about it, had nothing to do with it, didn't condone it, and the statement is just the opposite. Well, you'd think they'd have lifted the suspension. No, they ruined me. They ruined me financially. They ruined my law practice. They ruined my reputation as a lawyer. People come to me for legal advice. I'm a great lawyer. I've done more as a lawyer than almost anybody that belongs to that bar association. I could out-lawyer them in my sleep. Most of them are big phonies who like to go to cocktail parties and be on panels. Another reason is I don't have a lot of friends there because I always thought they were a bunch of assholes. Ass-licking assholes. not real lawyers. I'm a real lawyer, which is part of the problem. I fight for my client. It could be Donald Trump or it can be you. If I take on representing you, I die for you. That's what I believe my profession, like the medical profession. If I took you on as a patient, I'm going to save your life or die trying. They're not lawyers like that. All they care about is making money and what people think of them. And yeah, oh yeah, I'm the New York Times wrote an editorial about me. See, I learned about the New York Times when President Ronald Reagan said, I read the Times every day. It's very helpful to me. I just do the opposite. And then when my boss, Bill Smith, got angry at us because we got a good column in the Times about him. And he said, what did you do that for? The president's going to be angry at me. he was serious.
Yeah, it's like
he was there. When I grew,
something's up.
So I've been broke. I mean, I'm a New Yorker, so there's a certain thing about the New York Times that New Yorkers have. Even when they're conservative, they have this false respect for it. But I was broken of it in 1981. So it's a long time that I've been free of that brainwashing. You know, and a long time I've been free of the brainwashing that the Democratic Party is the party of the poor.
Oh, Mayor, that's my whole dad's
They
generation.
are the party of the poor. They created the poor and they're maintaining them, so they can have a built-in vote. And that's why they're bringing in all the illegals, because they're afraid they're going to lose the ones they have that are in servitude now.
I don't even think they know they're doing it. It's just like autopilot.
No, they know they're doing it.
Yeah, it's something.
I mean, the totally idiotic, completely out of control New York City Council voted to allow non-citizens to vote.
It's like the evil devil that sits on.
Now, how you can do that when the New York State Constitution sets out the qualifications to vote, and one of them is that you're a citizen, I don't know. I don't know how the New York City Council thinks it can change the New York Constitution, or how the crooked judges in New York can get around that.
Didn't Mayor Adams overturn that?
Gandhi.
And then he's going back and forth with that. Remember he said that?
I don't know. He's a little busy these days.
Yeah. I know he's busy getting raided by the FBI and stuff. But,
I think I think he vetoed that, and they passed it over his veto. They got the 2/3 vote to override his veto, and now he's come along a little. But he did recently embrace reparations that he had been against.
Jeez.
But you know, his mild criticism of Biden has thrown him out of the golden circle. The golden circle is, I mean, you want to be in the golden circle unless you have integrity. The gold, because you got to sell your soul. It's like Faust. Do you know the legend of Faust? You got to sell your soul to get in the golden circle. But if you get there, you can't be prosecuted for anything. The only question is, could you be prosecuted for murder? And half the people that have opined on this say, yes, it covers murder. The other half say it doesn't. And I cannot describe to you why they think it covers murder, because I would be defaming people. And I have no reason to believe they committed murder. But there are people that believe they committed a lot of murders.
So, Mayor, as of June 27, 2022, Staten Island judge, who is probably Republican, said it is unconstitutional for illegal immigrants to vote in New York City, and it will not be happening.
Well, he only said it because that's what it says in the New York State Constitution.
Exactly.
It says you have to be a citizen to vote.
Exactly.
This is. So let me tell you about the law clerk who sits in the judge's lap. Now, let me say, Judge, I'm not in front of you. I'm a suspended lawyer. You can't do ugats to me. That's an Italian expression meaning nothing. I hope it doesn't mean anything else, because I'm not sure.
Ugats means nothing, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, the intent is nothing. So.
Okay, that was my intent.
You're good, Mayor.
I'm okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll Google it in the
meantime. Did you see how close she is to him? Look at this. Look at this.
I speak Italian. It means nothing.
Here.
Google it.
See, there's the judge. Look, can you guys see this? There's the judge, and there's Ms. Allison Greenfield right next to him. So technically, she does not sit on his lap, but it's as close to sitting on his lap as you can. And I am not suggesting anything hanky-panky about that, because I actually think this is an intellectual relationship. I think she supplies his brain. I don't think he has one. You saw the way he smiled. He smiled like a guy that doesn't have much of a brain. And so I think she writes things out because he would be like a Biden if, I mean, look how he's looking down. He's looking down like there are only about 4 brain cells left.
Wouldn't he be in pain if she sat on his lap just saying,
please now.
He's a skinny
don't
man.
don't be a misogynist.
I'm
That's
sorry,
what
I'm
Trump
sorry,
and his lawyers are misogynists.
I'm sorry.
We're not going after her because she's a woman. We're going after her because she's a stinking lying political hack.
I didn't say about a woman.
So here's what the crooked newspapers have left out about her. So several weeks ago, Judge Engoron received a 72-page complaint from a guy from, I think, Wisconsin. And the guy said that she should be, he filed it with the New York State Bar Association. Good luck. New York State Bar Association. I'm suspended.
Oh, Mayor, after seeing how the system works here in the city, it's almost a badge of honor to have these people against you.
Yeah,
right?
It is tough, though, when people want your legal advice and you can't give it. And you spent your whole life being a lawyer, 50 years, and they take it away from you with a totally phony case.
If they actually,
I argued the cases in court. They like to argue that what I said wasn't true. All of it has support. All of it has support. And I have a right to have my opinion about it. Not only that, my opinion gets also, and it wasn't in this case, but at least I have this defense. I must, as a lawyer, see it in the light most favorable to my client. What they do instead is they try to find every reason for why it may be false, including totally specious reasons.
Mm-hmm. It's awful.
Well, that's completely contrary to my obligation. I have to find every reason for why it's possibly correct in order to defend my client. I'm an extension of him. I can't do anything illegal. But if somebody comes to me and says, I have evidence that, 30 people were registered to vote who were from out of state, and he shows me a document that says that,
you're obligated to
I'm obligated to allege it. And that's what we have a trial for, or even discovery. We'll find out if it's true. And plus, these all had to be done within deadlines of 2 weeks and 1 week. I couldn't investigate everything that was given to me. If I did that, I would have been able to allege nothing. No lawyer ever does that in a case like this. This was done to me solely because they are Democrats. They are maniacal on the question of Trump, and they wanted to destroy me. And they did the same thing in Washington. And the one in Washington is even worse. The one in Washington involves one case that I argued in which the judge didn't find that I did anything wrong, nor did my adversaries complain about me. And there's a rule in the federal court called Rule 11, and that is what you use when a lawyer argues something that doesn't have a rational or reasonable basis. Instead, they got a letter like this one from a politically motivated person who ripped apart with all kinds of false statements what I did. And the District of Columbia took up criticizing me for how I argued a case in Pennsylvania, in which the case is over, the judge, no sanctions, and the lawyers on the other side didn't complain about me. What the hell do they care? My adversaries are the ones who are going to sanction you. But, the District of Columbia got involved for the good of the profession. Like hell, District of Columbia got involved because they wanted to kill anything or anyone near Trump. And don't tell me the opposite. They're completely swamp dwellers. And they put a maniac on the case, just like they did here. Another maniac. And when I can tell you everything they did, you're going to be shocked. You decent people will be shocked. You Trump derangement people will cheer him on. I mean, my God, look what you allowed with Shifty Schiff, and many people were involved in treason, and a lot of people don't give a damn. Well, I do. Well, this guy Brock Frieden wrote this letter. I guess it's dated October 3rd, 2023, and he basically pointed out that although she is supposed to be non-political as a judicial clerk, she is excessively political. Not just political, excessively political. He pointed out situations where, over the course of the time she's worked for Judge Engeron, she went around getting petitions for the Democratic Party, raising money for the Democratic Party. She was involved in political activity for several different Democrat clubs, and that's where the source of a lot of the corruption comes, from these clubs. She engaged as a Democratic Party organizer. She canvassed for Democratic Party officials, and she worked on the campaigns to elect Democrats. And now those are general allegations. Let me give you a bright line test. The bright line test is a rule that applies to judicial employees to keep them out of politics. And the rule is you cannot donate more than $500 aggregate, means in total, right? You can't donate more than $500 to politics while you work for the court, which is supposed to be non-political, which is a complete contradiction in New York, because as I pointed out to you, every one of them is selected by the Democratic Party boss in that county, and is only on the ballot because of that, and is elected only because they have no opponent. This is a communist Nazi kind of system. One party, nobody runs against you, you get the judgeship. I mean, they don't even go get, like when people used to fix boxing matches, somebody had to take a fall. Nobody here even has to take a fall. They didn't bother to put anybody on a ballot. They've got entire ballots without a Republican on it. I had 1 out of 6. And I live in a democracy? Like hell I do. So you're not supposed to donate more than five. Here's the rule. Contributing directly or indirectly money or other valuable consideration in an amount exceeding $500 in the aggregate during any calendar year to all political campaigns for any political office and other partisan political activity, including but not limited to the purchasing of tickets to political functions, is prohibited. So she canvassed. She worked to raise money. She worked to do events. She donated money to, not one, I'll show you her. In 2022, she donated money to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 different Democratic organizations. So this is not a Democrat operative? I mean, she doesn't have time to be a law clerk doing that. So she's supposed to give no more than $500. What they found is $3,335 and no cents. And they let her participate in the Trump case. I mean, she's like an employee of the Democrat Party. And in 2023, even while the case is going on, she's pretty much on target. She's already done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She's done 5, including the New York County Democratic Committee. And that's the one who owns her, because that's the one that allowed her to run for civil court judge. And if she ever wants to be a judge, she's got to get the New York County Democratic Committee to put her on the ballot. They're her communist overlord. And she's done $1,000 this year and already violated the law. And I'm sure she had plenty more to go until she got caught. And Engoron has not notified Trump's legal counsel that he received this complaint. So he's hiding it. Like the dishonest person that he is. He's hiding it. And he's overreacting. And the reason I went searching for this was I got an instinct for guys like this. He was overreacting to the criticisms of the law clerk being with him. And it's unusual. Believe me, I've tried lots of cases. I do not ever remember a law clerk sitting right here. That's going to say there's something wrong there. There's something wrong going on. This is like, I don't know, did you ever see the Hunt for the Red October? Mm-hmm. So for the admiral, he wanted to take this new submarine, Russian Soviet submarine, and he wanted to turn it over to the Americans, and he wanted to flee the Soviet Union because he was actually a Lithuanian from Vilnius and never really accepted the Soviets. So he knows he's going to take it over. This is one of Clancy's great books. But the first thing he's got to do is kill the party representative on the ship for the following reason, because the party representative had more power than him. He was the admiral running the ship, but that guy could get you killed in a second by just reporting you. Or if he told you to do something, you had to do it. Because being an admiral was in name only. The party ran your life. The party ran your country. The party took your kid away from you and decided what your kid would do for a living, not you. The party owned you. And from Marx to Khrushchev, this is what they trained you to be and to do. So he knew that in order, he was going to be able to deal with with the officers, with the men, with the whole thing. He knew he'd be able to deal with it, and he'd allow them to make a choice of whether they wanted to come over to America or go back to Russia. Because some of them were Lithuanian and people who have always been uncomfortable being part of the communist dictatorship. But he had to kill the party operative first, because the party operative had more power than he. She's the party operative. She's there to make sure that he screws Trump. Everything in the background tells you that. What the hell's she doing there? Sitting there for? Sitting right next to him? I mean, does he have a brain? He can't get by without her sitting next to him? He can't wait a few minutes and ask a question the way normal judges do? This is weird conduct. And look, we got a weird case to start with. They got 4 more trials of this guy who's the leading candidate for president of the United States. And that's not to stop him from being president. That's because he violated laws that nobody ever heard of before. This one they never heard of before. This is a fraud where nobody lost any money. In fact, people made money on this fraud. You might want to encourage them to do it. Banks made money on this. This is like what the Bar Association did to me with the case in Pennsylvania. Nobody complained about the case in Pennsylvania. This is the District of Columbia. And they want to show that I wasn't telling the truth. I didn't have a reasonable basis for the things I argued in Pennsylvania. They don't even take into consideration I had to take over the case 24 hours before because the lawyer dropped out because they threatened him and his law firm threatened him to throw him out because he was representing Trump, because you, the Bar Association, let that kind of shit go on. Because you're not lawyers anymore. You don't even know what it is to be a lawyer. In fact, I don't even know if I want to practice law, but I'd rather not be part of the same association with you. What the hell would I want to be part of the association with you? You guys are the antithesis of what a lawyer should be. You're the complete opposite of what I grew up with and was taught to be.
What is the origin of the bar?
There are a bunch of self-important self-regulators. And, when people, first of all, if you got a lot of time to spend on the Bar Association, you probably don't have a very interesting law practice.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing is this internal.
Yeah, they spend all this time and then they all congratulate each other. And
yeah.
They all go to the cocktail. They all politically agree with each other, and they're all left wing.
I can't imagine those are
and
thrilling.
have tolerated the destruction of our country.
They're a federal entity?
Yeah, I mean, like for example, they would all think that prayer in school is terrible, and anybody who thinks there should be prayer in school must be some kind of a weak-minded person where religion is an opiate. Oh, gee, where does that come from? Karl Marx. They have and they're so stupid. They have no idea that a lot of them are Ivy League educated, and therefore educated with a very, very heavy Marxist indoctrination, which a lot of them don't even know because they never bothered to read Marx.
What gives them the authority to be the bar? And how come another bar association can't come up from?
Well, it could, but right now they got control of it.
It's a naive
It's
question,
not
I'm
necessarily.
sure.
It is.
Yeah, very much so.
It is.
Yeah, but
So-
It just can't.
Let's not even.
It strikes me.
Yeah. No.
Who the hell are these people?
It's unfortunate, as someone whose father and much of my family are lawyers, and it's just such a shame to see.
And I love
what
being
they
a lawyer.
Yes, and what they're putting the mayor through.
I
and
have
others.
always
Well, it's like with the leadership at FBI.
loved being a lawyer. So I want to show you something. First, I want to show you something funny, and then when I get attacked for it, I'm going to show you my defense. You like that cartoon? Can you see the cartoon?
Mm-hmm. Move it down a little bit, Mayor.
Move down, just like
Yeah,
I
there
think
you
I
go.
could do
Perfect,
it.
perfect.
I love it.
Son, your mother and I are concerned about how college has changed you.
No, we don't even know you.
Now, you say, oh, how can you do that? Compare it to Hitler. Blah, blah, blah. This was the demonstration in New York last week.
Ah,
What's that?
that's a swastika, Mayor.
What's that?
A swastika.
What's
It's
that?
not a smiley face. It's a swastika.
Look at that. Look.
That is wrong.
Sorry.
It's not a peace sign.
That's wrong for so many reasons.
Sorry, you deserve it. And don't give me this stuff. The Palestinian people, we really love the Jewish people, and they really love the Israelis. They are trained at 2, 3, 4, and 5 years old to kill Jews. They train and up in the West Bank too. I mean, look, you got to be. You want to take into your hands responsibility for the lives of other people. You got to be clear-headed and you got to be tough, and you can't fall for all this nonsense. I'll give you a great example of why we shouldn't let a single one of them in this country. Because Jordan doesn't want them. Because Egypt doesn't want them. Because Iran, who's sponsoring them and giving them all their money, they don't want them. 1 million of them were thrown out of Jordan, and they want them back. Now, you want a real twist on this? The wife of the king of Jordan is half Palestinian, and he won't let Palestinians. I don't even know how he let his wife in. He will not take a single Palestinian. And the silly former governor from South Carolina, another weakhead, thinks 50% of them are fine. See, that happened because that disease is susceptible of being contagious.
Too much time at the UN.
Weak-minded left-wing garbage. Too much time at the UN. 50% of the people in Palestine are against Hamas. Haley,
That's how the vote total is.
show me one demonstration against Hamas in the last 20 years. One. Show me one. I can show you 2,000 against the reign of terror in Iran. And I don't remember you supporting MEK to overthrow Iran. I never heard you talk about regime change in Iran. Well, Iran has an active revolutionary movement. Thousands of people have been killed. Have thousands of people been killed in Palestine because the Palestinians are trying to overthrow their dictators? Or do they seem to kind of go along with their dictators? And even if they don't want their dictators, they sure as hell agree with their dictators that Jews should be killed. They would train that way in their schools. You know who sponsored the books? The same group that's giving out the humanitarian aid, the UN. And you really believe that that's going to the people and not going to Hamas. If you do, please, you're too stupid to listen to this show and understand it.
Well,
You
Mayor,
honestly are too stupid to listen to this show and understand. You will not be able to follow me. So go read comic books or something.
No, I'm
Because
going to argue that they should listen to you more. They need to
Nah.
double the intake.
they don't. You got to have
Go
a. You
back.
got to have a minimum. I'm sorry. You got to have a minimum IQ. These people have no IQ. If you think that
They
Hamas
need more.
is letting
They need
the
more.
humanitarian, this is a terrorist group that chops people's heads off, right? It's a terrorist group where, didn't you point out that some of the leaders are billionaires that steals money left and right? Ba-doom, 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 ba-doom.
Yeah.
Well, they forgot about
Now the humanitarian aid comes and they got some soldiers that got to be fed. Or you're going to feed the people in the hospital. What do you think Hamas is going to feed?
themselves.
What do you think the fuel's going to go for? It's going to go for their offensive and defensive weapons. Yeah, the hospitals are out of fuel because Hamas steals everything. They don't even steal it; they control it. We don't even, and the UN group that brings it in the first place works with them all the time.
Crazy.
The UN group has been stealing. You think the UN is honest?
No.
Again, if you do,
I don't even know what to do.
you think the UN is honest. I mean, really. Half of those countries are thoroughly corrupt.
I see where Nikki Haley's a little confused, Mayor. It says, according to Washington Institute, 62% of Gazans support keeping the ceasefire. They don't.
What?
They want to. 60% of Gazans want a ceasefire.
When?
Of course they do. They're getting the hell kicked
What
out
are you
of them.
talking about? When was this poll?
No, this was July 2023. This was July 23. But since 57% of them favor Hamas, so it's a little oxymoron. Yeah. It's an oxymoron. They like Hamas, but they want a ceasefire.
No. That's not at all what that's saying. That's not at all what that's saying. And
90% of Hamas hate the Jewish people. How about we put it that way?
Okay.
They wanted them out.
And they would like to see Jews dead.
And in 2005,
And we're not so far behind.
The people who contributed to the October 7th attacks, a lot of them were just average Joes. They weren't members of Hamas. They were just other Gazans who had a passionate hatred of Jews, taught them at a young
It was
age.
instilled into them to such a degree that they couldn't even get away from it.
After every terrorist attack, they hand out candy in the streets. People rejoice.
Yeah.
They film themselves.
These are the people who celebrated for days after 9/11 in both parts of the Palestinian Authority, in Gaza and up in the West Bank. Why we fool ourselves about them? It began with Clinton falling in love with Arafat and not seeing clearly that this guy was a murderer and outfoxed him and made a fool out of him by getting all that money
and getting people killed.
And then Clinton gave him everything he wanted, and he said, "No, I need a war. I only get money for a war." Reminds you a little of one of the suspicions about Ukraine, right?
That's right. And Israel voluntarily left Gaza in 2005 for self-governance. Okay, you guys want to do this? Go ahead and do it. What's happened since 2005?
Can we talk about the prince?
Which prince?
Obama.
Oh God,
Prince Obama.
Oh,
that was awful. What he said. Yeah,
he's a prince.
Number one
didn't
anti-Semite.
you know?
Prince of the Golden Circle.
2007, they anointed him.
Who did?
Yeah, you're not even allowed to make allegations about
every
it.
magazine in the country.
You can't.
He was named Prince.
Oh.
Well, I mean, he's the only guy that got the Nobel Peace Prize before he got into office.
Yeah.
And then he went to war.
And then he drone struck a bunch of kids.
And then he went to war. He created a big
drone
war
strikes.
with he brought the Taliban back to life, or Al Qaeda back to life.
Yeah.
Like a coward, he watched kids die to the drone strikes.
Yeah, I mean, amazing.
What a nice guy.
Yeah, he
But
got
what
the.
a piece. He stoked race riots.
He
more than
left.
maybe
He
any
left
president in this
Trump
country.
with a war that Trump had to finish.
What pisses me off about Obama, Mayor, is he takes credit for finding Osama bin Laden. You didn't find Osama bin Laden, bro. There was presidents before you who spent almost 8 years looking for Osama bin Laden. You were in office for 3 years, and you think you suddenly found Osama bin Laden? Come on, man.
Well, unlike
That's what
Biden,
pisses
I'll
me
give
off.
Obama a little bit of credit for
At least
not
he
saying
wanted- at
no.
least he said, yeah.
At least he didn't say no.
Of course he said yeah. I'm just saying, but he
No,
takes.
no, Biden said no.
No. Obama said yes.
Nobody ever
Obama
said Biden
yes.
was, that
Yeah.
Obama was stupid.
No, he's not stupid. He's
I
not
do.
stupid.
I do think he was
just have to
heavily
get that dig on
influenced
Biden.
by his communist training.
Definitely not stupid.
He was heavily influenced by the cop killer heirs who trained him and his wife who killed cops. He was very much influenced by Wright, who said, what did he say about America? I can't repeat it. I'm not allowed to repeat it because you take
It's
the
not
name of the
God
law.
bless America.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
GD America.
And then he
What a
went on
sick guy.
the apology tour when he got elected.
Oh.
And she said one
Scumbag.
thing that explains the whole thing.
Michelle Obama.
She said one thing that explains that I'm right, that they hate this country. When she said that this was the first good thing that America has done,
What's
elect
wrong
her
with
husband.
self-hating? I can't even.
Self-hating.
You know,
That's
I
one
got in a
thing
lot of
about it.
trouble once because at a private gathering well into the Obama term, I told a group of Republicans that I thought Obama's big problem is he didn't love America. Because I always was used to American presidents, talking very effusively about loving this country, including, Democratic presidents, Carter would and Clinton would.
Yeah.
But rarely do you hear Obama talk about loving America and what a great country it is and what a wonderful country. I mean, I'm having a hard time remembering him say that. He probably did here and there, but he never evoked like. You just knew that
Pride.
Ronald Reagan's success was his love of America, and Trump loves America. I mean, the patriotism just comes right out of him.
Yeah.
And I mean, these people get annoyed about it because they hate patriotism, because you got to kill patriotism to establish communism.
Bingo.
So you think that all this hating of America and the burning of flags and the taking the knee, you think it is not. It's right in Marx. How come they do everything Marx? I mean, you say they do all of that. All of it. They don't even know it because they were brainwashed by Marxist professors and teachers that go right down to the grade school level through the teachers union, which is for sure a communist union.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking our country away. And many of us now realize it, but not all of us.
Using Pavlovian techniques.
Yeah, well, they're using brainwashing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're taking our country away. And we're just not going to let them do it. We're not going to let them do it. We're not going to let them turn our judicial system is in the Democrat controlled cities is gone. It was gone during the 2020 election. I knew that the first time I went into court. The first time I went to Philadelphia, and the court ruled that when we asked to be able to see the ballots, and the law of Pennsylvania says that a Republican and a Democrat have to be present when you count ballots, the crooked court ruled that it's okay if you're just there. You don't have to see anything. So in other words, if they put you there like a lampshade or a potted plant, that's okay. And one judge wrote an opinion saying it can't mean that. Words in a law have meaning.
Supposed to.
They're supposed to fit into the context. So what does present mean in a case where you have an inspection of ballots? It means you're present to see everything that's going on. No, it's okay. You don't have to see anything. As long as you're present, they could put a blindfold on you. Supreme Court of Pennsylvania ruled 4-3 that was the law. Well, and the 4 were all Democrats. You're going to tell me that was an honest decision? No, you're not. You're not going to tell me that was an honest decision, because it was an entirely dishonest decision. Well, let's see. Where are we here? Okay, we're 45 minutes into it.
America's Mayor Confidential.
So we're going to be back tomorrow. We got plenty more to go through here. I think I covered all the things I wanted to make sure that you knew that would not be covered in the communist press, including the political hack, Allison Greenfield, who is officially a political hack. And the judge, let me tell you, the judge in the case was elected 3 times, Judge Anger Moron. He was elected 3 times, or was he? Would you consider that he was elected? Would you consider that he was elected if he had no opponent 3 times? How can you run 3 times and not have an opponent and claim that you're not a political hack?
That, you know,
This is America. You know, you're supposed to have an opponent.
absolutely.
Democracy doesn't work when there's nobody else on the ballot all the time. That means that's the definition of a dictatorship.
And they create a false choice, right?
There's no choice. The guy got elected to the civil court, no opposition. The guy got elected to the Supreme Court, no opposition. The guy got reelected to the Supreme Court,
Yes.
no opposition. He wasn't selected by the people.
But there's
He was selected by the
But they create
political hacks that are part of the political committee. And he is definitely, therefore, if nothing else, we can't say he's corrupt, although I worry about that because the Democrat machine is plenty corrupt. Not everybody. And you got to prove specific ones. But he sure as heck is partisan. And then he's got the woman sitting on his lap, and she spends all her time with Democratic political activities where she's violating the law doing it. So they must think we're fools.
Yes.
They're banking
They
on
do,
people
actually.
not they do, and they don't fools and distracted. It's
I'm
twofold.
sick of being-
It's twofold. They think people are fools, but they also know they can distract people in this country with
Yeah.
a lot of other things. Well, Mayor, we don't want. I mean, we're on a roll. We could keep going.
Yeah,
for
I know.
hours.
We're going to
Well, you
tire
have
people out.
Well, you have a special guest. We're not going to give it away
Yes,
on the
sir.
air. You have a special guest.
Oh, okay. Good. Well, we're going to sign off now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very, very much for listening to us. Tomorrow I'll be back on WABC at 3. We'll be back here at 7. We are considering going back to 8, but you guys got to kind of write
Comment
in and
below.
tell us.
Give
right?
us your feedback.
Let
in the
us
comment
know
section.
about that. And pray for the people of Israel. Pray that they get it over with quickly and as few civilians as possible get killed. But I think God understands that it's the people that are killing them at Hamas. When you put a child in front of you to die instead of you or to die with you, you got to be some kind of monster. And I got to believe, because I do believe in traditional religion, God's going to put you straight in hell. The Muslims believe in hell too. Letting children get killed. So say a prayer, but particularly say a prayer for the people of Israel and the people of the United States. And also say a prayer of thanksgiving that you're an American. God bless America, and we'll see you tomorrow.